Excellent. I'm so glad we are doing this today. I'm excited to share with you guys a new little tool in my toolbox that I got from finally going to see a physical therapist. So on and off for the last like 5 years, I would occasionally get numbness or tingling in my hands, usually thumb, index, and middle finger. Sometimes one, sometimes both, just very changeable. So, you know, I would stretch, and I found that good pectoral stretching, using like our wall stretches or half puppy, all those things have helped, but nothing stopped it from becoming something that would kind of recur. So I finally was getting really irritated. Pretty much my sleep was being interrupted every night by this. And so I went to a PT, and I am very grateful that he brought up something that I think actually could be an issue really for all of us, which is why I'm going to share a couple of these exercises with you today, which is the idea of nerve flossing. Like, you know, like flossing your teeth is the word I'm using. How many of you have heard of nerve flossing before me talking about it? Okay. Yeah. And so I've only ever heard one other person talk about it. And it was somebody who was a PT who was dating a friend of mine mentioned it, right? But in all the years that I've been sending yoga students and massage clients to physical therapists, not one of them have come back and said, you know what they told me to do? Nerve flossing. So I'm like, all right, I need to get this out there. So here's the idea. You know, when you're flossing your teeth, you're getting the gunk out that's in there, the buildup, the detritus. And in the beginning, it's a kind of a nasty process if you haven't done it for a while, right? Same way with nerve flossing. Our nerves run in those myelin sheaths that we've heard about, and they can develop all kind of gunk and clutter in there, from injury, from just lack of mobility. So then you get stuff just kind of building up. So when you first start nerve flossing, it can be more intense. You don't want to be in like extreme pain or anything, but you might feel some kind of, you know, that nervy feeling. My experience was that I did the exercise one day, and for 3 nights in a row, I had 0 problems. And then I did a lot physically, and that night was not as great, but it wasn't as bad as my bad nights. So I'm really thrilled. It's something so seemingly simple that can be useful. So I'll be integrating that into our practice a little later on, but I just wanted to give you kind of a heads up of what it's about. I'm sure it's something you can probably look up online as well. But you know, the majority of us who have been doing stuff repetitively, so even if you haven't had injury, but you've been at computers, or you know, I know you're a house painter, and so, oh my gosh, right, repetitive, all the things that you do, gardener, and so on. I think nerve flossing can help, and it can actually help some of the tennis and golfer's elbow as well. There's one person in here besides me deals with from a lot of repetitive. Excited about that. Should be kind of fun. I'm going to also ask you to notice we're doing a number of different breath practices, as we always do in yoga. And I want you to notice, please, which things really just sit well with your system, where some part of you, when we're doing them, is just like being nourished, right? Because I feel like breath is the easiest thing. I mean, we can do it wherever we are. We don't have to be laying down. And in fact, it's one of the most valuable things that we can apply in daily life off the yoga mat. You know, we're in traffic and we're stressed out. We're having a conversation and we find ourselves stressed out. Or like in my case, the other morning after waking up from a really big project the day and night before, I was so tired that it's really hard to wake up. And so what I did is I intentionally did like a couple of compression and expansion inhales. And those few just really deep inhales brought me to a place of like, okay, now I can get up, right? So the breath, I feel like, is our most important tool, but it seems like it's our most subtle, and we maybe forget about it. We just think about postures. So please notice today what really works great for you. We're going to start up on our back bodies. I'd love you to have a block handy. It could be a soft block, like these little guys that I've got from Hugger Mugger, or it could be a cork block, whatever you want. You could even use just a really thick supportive couch cushion if you wanted to, something we're going to be putting under, say, a triangle. So laying down on your back body, the first thing is just letting your body go with gravity. You might try an internal invitation or mantra, something like, let me sink in with gravity, or I witness my body growing heavier, sinking deeper, softly spreading. let it go. And then let's come into our 3 sighing breaths that help calm our nervous system, our amygdala. Big inhale, notice that breath wave rising. Oh, you guys sound so good. So curious, where do we feel fabric moving on our skin? One of the gifts of sighing breath is not only does it calm our amygdala and our whole nervous system, it actually tells other people it's okay. There's nothing to worry about. We are safe. We are whole. We are well. And now, please, rolling the head slowly side to side, inviting you to scan what is the texture of the tissues through the upper back and all the way up into the neck. Those very top 2 vertebrae at the top of the neck and up into the brainstem are responsible for the majority of our mobility. To say, look over your shoulder, to back arm. So even though you may feel really tight all the way down into the back and traps, mobility right there at that occipital ridge is key. And finally coming back to center, please reach the chin up and back, expanding that length through the throat tissues and those deep neck muscles, and then bringing the chin in towards the throat, keeping the head on the floor. We'll do that a few more times. Interestingly, as we mentioned that low back was a sensitive area for some people today, this act of bringing the chin in towards the throat, which can be done laying as you are or even standing, is a specific physical therapy exercise that I was introduced to by a friend years ago for just low back problems. So that's a great reminder that the spinal curve is connected, upper and lower, inextricable, linked to another. And finishing last, what feels like neutral. If we'll come into our 3 points of introversion, turning the gaze up and in towards the third eye, lightly connecting to the tongue, the roof of the mouth, the rest of the tongue and jaw soft, like you're holding something delicate there. Lastly, Ujjayi breath, great sounding breath. Creating that whooshing sound of wind, trees, and ocean waves. Ujjayi is such a basic breath practice that can be done throughout daily life. I use it particularly if I'm hurrying. It's my way of making sure that I remain eternally calm while moving fast, whether it's walking somewhere or vacuuming or what have you. I also love that it helps us notice the still point in the breath. So if you like, for a few moments, you might plug your ears and even notice more dramatically the active Ujjayi during inhale, exhale, and then that silence, the pause between. Throughout our practice, you might continue Ujjayi if you find it tension building or stressful. Of course, you're welcome to let it go, but this is a great one to practice getting comfortable with. We're going to go right into our compression and expansion breathing, where you can continue to use Ujjayi. As you're ready, exhaling belly towards spine, Lower back towards the floor, so you're in corpse pose, but as you power your low back into the floor, you should feel your pelvis tilt upward. Empty. Is there more? Is there more? When there's nothing left, soften, allow yourself to be breathed. When you think you're almost complete, sip in a little extra. You noticing? I'm hoping you're feeling really alert and powerful at your center, not only muscularly, but that this action is helping you also feel emotionally present. This is our gut, right? Our center. And as powerful and engaged as you can be here at the center, I would love you to experience being relaxed and liberated in the neck throughout our practice. So at any point, especially if you're a chronic shrugger or a neck doer, roll that head side to side. I'm going to do a few more. I'm going to invite you to turn it into rock pose with or without sit-up. Always exhale initiates the compression. And that compression of the low belly and back to the floor initiates the rock pose, the squeezing of all the muscles tight, arms into your sides, shoulder heads down, feet flexing or maybe curling. On the inhale, you decide to release and sweep the arms overhead. Noticing where that last little sip of inhale travels. On your exhale, again, compression, rock pose, and maybe you add a sit-up, letting your upper back come off the floor. Your face might be looking at those amazing feet. Asking, is there more? Let's do 3 more rounds at whatever level you're at. If your neck is not loving the sit-up, please leave it out. Just work the core and practice relaxing side to side through that. Yoga meaning to yoke together body, mind, and spirit. So very intentionally bring all the pieces of yourself right here, right now, to experience what it is to be alive in this body and being as you. Maybe there's joy, maybe there's sadness, maybe there's energy, maybe there's fatigue. Just really get into it all. And we'll bring our right knee into the belly for release wind pose. We're going to do a couple of little amendments here. First is I'm just going to ask you to flex both feet. Secondly, take the knee, I'm using both hands, and I'm just going to bring the knee a little towards the center line, towards the outside. And then if it feels right, you can do a little bit of circling. If it's too hard to reach your knee, remember you could always put a strap or something around the kneecap or even behind the knee joint. And then see if you can reach your left hand to your foot, your right foot, that would be, and grab a hold of it. If you can't, grab higher up the shin and with the foot flex, just see if you can kind of bring that foot closer to your left hip bone. So I'm bringing that foot across. Again, if this hurts somewhere, knee, ankle, etc., don't do it. Heel flex does help stabilize those joints. And then I'm going to have you see if you can bring your knee higher up towards your right armpit. So I'm using both hands to just guide that knee a little higher. Keep pushing away through the left heel, powering down through the left thigh. That is important for that low back protection. Excellent. And then relax the hands to release the foot to the sky. And I'm going to point, flex, and roll both ankles. Inhale, flex the ankles again. Exhale, root, and slowly descend that right leg without releasing the low back. So if you need to bend the knee so you're counterbalancing less weight, do. Practice relaxing. Like you're, some ice cream cone. today outside. Melting. Let's come into abdominal pumping. Inhaling as if it's all you would ever do. Exhaling, empty, hold out. Begin abdominal pumping. You're drawing the belly down towards the floor, towards the spine, and then pressing it towards the sky. And you're going in and out until you need to breathe. And enjoy a beautiful full breath, just relaxed, enjoying. Excellent. We're going to bring then the left knee into the belly for release wind pose. And I want you to please notice if you get kind of rocked to one side or not. So you feel just beautiful and stable as you do this. But some of us might be, say, pulled towards the left subtly. And those kind of help tell you you've got a little bit of torque or pull through your body. But as you power down through that right thigh bone, you might even feel the right heel flex and come off the floor. Good, and taking that knee in and out, and just keeping both hands connected, maybe circling a little bit. And then clasping the foot if you can, otherwise perhaps at the ankle. Or you can also tie a strap around the ankle. That might make it easier for you to now draw your heel across towards the right hip bone. Shoulder heads are anchored. Scan your body for unnecessary tension, eyebrows, jaw, throat, and tongue. Holding and breathing, and now making that little adjustment where we try to more deeply bring the knee towards that left armpit. I'm using the power of both arms and hands. Keep reaching away through that right heel. And then release that left leg to the sky. Inhale, slow, deep and wide. Exhale, root the back and descend. Ujjayi. I find Ujjayi breath helps me stay in the moment, but also in my core. And melting. And we'll come into another round of abdominal pumping. One of my favorite tools during abdominal pumping, after you've emptied the breath, is to draw the belly in, but kind of pause and see if I can draw in even more. It's like I'm trying to think about bringing my abdomen like up into my chest space. And of course, when you need to breathe, let it go. You might remember from last week in some of our work with vagus nerve that when you sigh, swallow, or yawn, it's a great indication that your rest and digest nervous system has entered and that maybe you've left your fight or flight. So always add those anytime you like. All right, we're gonna come into a little strength builder, also a little bit of a stretch. And this can be done standing too, but I like offering it laying down because I think you're more likely to be able to relax your neck. You're just going to be in prayer hands. And so when you're in prayer hands, you want your palms touching. If you can't have your forearms making a straight line, then so be it. Don't worry about it. But I want your shoulders anchored. So if you have to have your hands high in order to pull that off, go for it. All right. And then you're going to press your hand one into the other and just squeeze. And I'm hoping you're feeling a little activity here in the pectorals, and then relax. And as we do this a couple few more times, just scan how able are you to create good deep pressure here without tightening your neck or your tongue. You might find it helps you to engage belly towards spine to pull off this strengthening, right? So much comes from our ability to deliver power from our center. Lovely. Come apart with the hands and just relax, roll them out. And let's reach arms overhead, and we're going to clasp one wrist and pull, draw, breathe. And switching. Do you notice any difference in these arms and your side body? And then just bringing your arms straight out to your side. And I'm going to have you have your palms to the sky. And you're going to point your fingers towards the sky. You're out in a T pose, basically. And then you're going to flex them away. So the arms are along the floor in like a T position. You got it. I didn't really describe that very well starting. And then point your fingers, your whole wrist flexes. So your fingers are pointing to the sky. You got it. And then try to point your fingers towards the floor and your wrists will come off a little bit if you've got enough range of motion to pull that off. Good. So just noticing what that feels like, and we'll play with this again in some of our standing postures, but I want you to do it where your head is supported. And then just relax. Lovely. We're going to plant our feet for bridge pose. So preparing for bridge, we always want to actively work our shoulder blades in towards each other. That protects that cervical spine, so you've got a nice little valley there. Good. And then as you are ready, feet planted parallel, right beneath the knees. Maybe you want to put your block between your knees, you certainly can. Inhale, slow, deep and wide. Exhaling, raise the hips. We're going to come in and out a number of times. Inhaling, we descend. The slower, the better. Exhaling, we rise. Yeah, and there are different arm positions here that work for folks. I see a couple of people using my favorite arm position, which is upper arm on the floor, but elbows bent and fingers to the sky. Some of you have your arms just straight on the floor. If that feels good to you, great. Try to avoid having palms rotated towards the floor because that internally rotates your shoulder joint. And we want to work with an extra rotation. The next time you are up, inviting you to play with trying to develop our yoga mudra class. So that's intertwining the fingers behind the back with the palms facing each other. And then pressing the knuckles and fists towards the heels. Ideally getting the arms to kind of go click and get straight for you. So now you're pressing your pinkies towards the floor and notice how that lights up your triceps. Beautiful. If you're feeling any neck pressure, lift the chin up and back. And of course, when you're ready, come on out, knees to belly, maybe a sighing breath. Rocking side to side. All right, we're going to take ourselves right into our robot. Again, I want to get us in a really good core here today. So anchoring the core body, belly to spine, spine to floor. Legs are parallel but not touching. And we're going to take the knees away from us until we sense that they're right over the hip joints, creating a 90-degree angle, both at knee and hips. Starting position for hands is either right on the thighs so that it helps your knees stay where they should be, or you can have them up like you're holding a loaf of bread above your chest. Long inhale. You can always relax that lower back anchoring as needed on the inhale, give yourself a break. Exhale, root again, and slowly take one foot about 3 inches away. Maybe you want to take the opposite arm, reaching for the wall behind. And slowly return. Long inhale, slow, deep and wide, as if it's all you'd ever do. Take the other foot or knee a few inches away. Remember, the knee stays bent at 90 degrees, so we're not straightening it all. We're just hinging at the middle. I want you to notice as we do one more each side, especially if you are reaching the arm overhead, are you getting any kind of pelvic tilt or release of your low back? If so, focus on that. Don't let that come on here. Yeah, and if you're reaching with that arm, notice, what is it like? Is one more able to stay straight, karate chop straight? Perhaps able to reach further behind you than the other. Nice focus, folks. Feel really good. Breathing. Softness again in the jaw. And usually after a couple rounds, you should need a break. If not, you're probably compensating. You're probably moving your state. All right, we're going to come back into our bridge. It's a nice counter pose at our foot hover. You guys know I love this one. We do it almost every practice to help stabilize that back body and core, especially for people with any low back instability. Now, you need to do this in a way that doesn't hurt. So you could keep your hips a lot lower. You can also just shift your weight back and forth from foot to foot versus actually lifting one. But if it feels okay to do so, lift one foot about an inch off the floor. Try not to compensate. Slowly switch. Back and forth a few times. Noticing the muscle groups as this lights up. If you're wanting to do leg extension, by all means, you can certainly do that. Just make sure you're not dropping your hip or your knee, and that you're not taking on a ton of neck tension as a result. And slowly down into whatever would feel good. Maybe knees to belly, maybe happy baby, clasping at the foot, the ankle. I find happy baby to be a really good stretch for my low back hip area. But it's going to feel better for most of us if you can get your kind of tailbone tilting towards the floor versus sort of sometimes people practice this, they're all curled up in a little ball. You really want to be able to anchor the low back. So if you need to use a strap across the heels to give you a little more room, great, or across the arches, I should say. Shoulder heads anchor down the back, big belly work. And then we're going to go into half straddle. And usually I have people just bring hands down behind the knees, let the heels flop towards your butt, and then you're practicing straightening one leg. And that's a great version. But I want to mention another version I discovered the other day, which was letting the bent leg have the foot on the floor. And I think for some people that might create more stability, especially perhaps in your low back. So it's one foot on the floor kind of wide, the other leg being supported with the hand behind the knee as you play with trying to straighten through that full leg, heel flexed. Anybody here digging that version more? Yeah? Oh, I got a couple hands. All right. I try to always experiment on your behalf. All right. And a last bit of dessert here on our back body, reclined pigeon, you know it. So before you lift your left leg, just cross your right ankle and then enjoy kind of wagging that right knee away from you and towards you. Again, if it hurts, you feel any kind of sciatic nerve pinch, don't do it. Then raise the left leg, heel flexed. Hug the right knee as tightly as you can while anchored shoulders. And send it a little to the left or center line. This is another pose where getting a hold of the foot can be interesting because it can kind of help you windshield wiper the knee, the heel, a little back and forth, getting a different angle. So if you're not loving just the classic version of this, change it up. And returning the floor foot ideally before uncrossing. Wave that left knee away from you. Don't forget the wave. Is this side different? Your line and say hello to your edge. And scanning. Some nice ujjayi breath. One time releasing. Butterfly knee. This is just a lovely counter stretch. Active and strength building if you'd like. Or if that bothers, then just enjoy the relax. One more strength kind of awakening exercise before we come out here. Bring the soles of the feet flat to the floor. Inner line of the foot, the knees, inner thigh. And power down through those upper arms as you raise as they did in bridge. But they don't need to. That's not the goal. The goal is to activate. Hello. Release. Lovely. I'm in the cross-legged, come on to hands and knees. If you know you need a little padding under your knee joints, get a full. And we're going to be doing something we haven't done in a while together. Don't worry, it's coming. We're going to do a little. It's not nerve flossing for your hips; it's for your arms. So you'll in the meantime, I want you to take good. We are at a 90-degree angle in the wrist. If yours doesn't love that, go on to fists instead, or get a little something in front of your palm so that you're not flexed to fully activated. And you know what? Let's just go into a nice cat back a moment. Feel that stretch, but also that power in the core. Maintain that core power as you extend your spine into tabletop. Bending your elbows, raise your right knee off the floor, out to the side. So straight out from the hip. I don't mean in front of, that's what I meant by straight out. Good. Check and see if you've shifted anything. Did your left shoulder go forward? Probably. Draw it down your back. In fact, let's come back to table over. Good. Anchor those shoulders. Take your left knee out and see if you can keep from compensating. Watch your right shoulder particularly. It's the one. Breathe, notice, and come back. If you need to give your wrists a break, do. So we're going to do that same thing, but I'm going to. And this is really, it's both butt hip work, but core work. I'm saving for that big old heavy limb of yours out there. All right. Nice long. Right hand out to the side. See if you can push with your left knee a little more. Reach your right hip a little higher and more open. To the side. Next, stay soft. One more full breath. Push off with your floor knee. Raise it up. Take flight. Woohoo! And fix. If you dig this work, I got triple giggling. I love you for that. And your wrists don't love it. You could do a standing version like this. Okay, it adds a little balance aspect. Possibly. Exhale, belly to spine, ujjayi, shoulders to the back pockets, and we'll take that left knee out to the side. If you want, straighten it out to the side. Do not let that right shoulder creep forward. Neck is soft. One more big breath. Launch with your right knee like you're pushing on. And release. Good. Roll wrists if you need to. Inhaling cow. Oh, that feels good. Exhaling cat to downward facing dog. Remember to give yourself as much space between hands and feet as you need to now really liberate the spine. Knees are bent, and I'm trying to get as long as I can from my hands to pedal one heel at a time towards the floor. Hello, back of the leg. Maybe you just feel this in your arches, heels, Achilles, calves, hams. You might even feel it in the butt. And then please dropping to your knees if you can. Again, there's a way to get to this basic stretch from standing, which I'll show in a moment. Forward. Then with you and see if you can get into a little. And you just come from standing. If you don't dig that version, step back and dip the knee. Make left hip forward. And there's absolutely nowhere to get to here. There is no goal other than you're kind of dip down and notice what's happening in that left hip and quad. But the left one's getting some stretch, I hope. And then we're going to reach the arms up and enjoy a deep breath through this front line. The further back your hands are, the more you're going to feel that stretch. Good. And then we're going to release and press back downward facing dog. If you're wanting to skip again some of that floor aspect, then you're just doing this from standing. You could walk to the wall and do a beautiful wall supported shoulder stretch. I think we did talk about that last. And we're going to drop now to the knees, bring the right foot forward, no, left foot forward. Good. Curl to our knee dip. Hoping as you begin to expand with curiosity, affection for this amazing body. Yeah, isn't it awesome? And add that nice lift through the chin a little bit. Breath. Some dog. Good. I'm going to invite dog series. You might go into cow cat. You might go into resting pose, like child's pose. And I always recommend these in your front core so that there's no swag at the hips. Elbows, maybe just an inch. Cobra, anchoring the forward. Exhaling, press back, child's pose, or ragdoll as you're standing alternate. Rolling from temple to temple on my head as I kind of swing my hip. I find that just gives me a really nice massage all the way down even into the hip connections. Really your abdomen, your lower back, the sides of the torso, and the ribs, and lat muscles. On exhale, tucking the tailbone, come up into table pose. Downward facing dog. We're going to do a little leg flying, and then we're going to come to our mountain pose standing. So if you're like, okay, I'm not sure I want to do dog leg flying, you could do, by the way, table leg flying, or hang out and do something else that you love, and you'll meet us there. Otherwise, right here, shoulder heads anchored down the back, nice core support, downward facing dog. Remember, you do not ever have to straighten your legs in downward facing dog. So what we want is the shoulders to move back towards the thighs. All right, then slowly take right leg flying, heel flexed. Breathe and notice. If you open the hip, feel free to do. And full chance to notice, are you able to keep from compensating? So this is kind of the same way to go. Opening the hip, perhaps up to you. Keep sending the torso back towards the standing leg and then return. Good. And I'm going to walk my hips back towards my feet. I get this wonderful little journey. And then suddenly letting the head hang. Big belly breath will help that low back relax. It'd be lovely to have a little support from the hands. So if you want to put hands on thighs so that you kind of dip into your kind of chair or squat. Connect. And let's rotate those palms over each other. So we're going to inhale and slowly sweep up. And exhale, slowly sweep down. Some of you might have just in that sweep noticed some little bits of nervy. I'm just curious how many people could feel, okay, at least half of us just in making that arm sweep, you can feel kind of a nerve light up a little bit right there. Cool. Well, I didn't think I was really alone in that. All right, so the first one that we're going to do nerve flossing, you're in prayer hands. And you guys are very familiar with that pose. If you cannot, again, if you cannot be arms in one long line, then you've got your hands higher, okay? What we don't want is shoulders high. Anchor down. And then ever so slowly, you're just taking your hands all the way to one side and all the way to the other. Good, and you're doing it best you can without like moving your body. You're not rotating the torso. Yeah. What are you noticing?
Back of the arms.
Back of the arms. Very zingy. Not much.
Nothing.
Nothing. Cool.
Am I doing it wrong?
I don't think you're doing it wrong. You do look like you might have your shoulders up a little bit. There you go. Try that and just see. Otherwise, I would say no. The one thing you can add to is you can add like a little pressure. Like I can use my right middle finger against my left, and sometimes that will get there. But that's, you know, probably a great sign that your ulnar nerve is really quite happy. Yay. And all the way in the fingers. Yep. Yeah. Cool. So this is just a really, I love this exercise. You can do it kind of while you're waiting for whatever, you know, it's like, it's not, you don't need a piece of equipment. It's super easy. The next one I'm going to show you is kind of a, he described it, my PT, as kind of a restaurant background. So I don't know how many of you have waited tables, but you're basically holding a tray of drinks. Whether you've got your fingertips back or kind of out to the side, it's just a different stretch. So it's either way, but you've got your tray of drinks, you've got it. And you're going to let your tray of drinks fall out to the side. And then you're going to drop your ear towards that shoulder as you do that. You've got it. And then it's going to all come back up. So it's going straight out to your side and straight back up. You got it. That was funny. I was showing some friends this, and different people at different times, and they all wanted to watch the tray of drinks fall. Like that's instinct. No, don't do it. I said, you know, the other day, I said, just imagine it's like in one of those movies where they reverse frame. The drinks didn't actually break. They just all come back up onto your tray. You know, you can picture that happening. Yeah. All right. One little add-on that you can make is after you've come up to center with your head, you can actually take the head the other way. And so for some of us, that will create an additional stretch through there. The last one, and yes, the last one that we're going to do gets a completely different nerve. So I just want you to notice, like, you may not feel it on every one. Excuse me. So other side, you're holding your tray of drinks. And you're going to let them fall, and you're going to send your left ear towards your left shoulder. So you're not rotating, you're letting the ear go down. And then back up. And down. And back up. You got it. And obviously, the more you keep the hand flexed, the more, you know, the more intense that angle is. So if you come back up and your tray is actually at an angle and not in fact holding drinks, you're not going to feel this in, you know, in the same way. Yeah. Anybody not feel that one at all? No, everybody got something on that one?
The goal would be to do this daily or whatever until you don't feel anything.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's really the goal that he set for me and that I set for myself too, is to get to the point where those nerves are just so beautifully stretched and flossed that you don't really feel much of a nerve sensation. Yeah. And so my assignment was to do it twice a day for like 10, 12 reps, basically. The last one is also kind of a restaurant metaphor. I mean, you could come up with other ways to describe this, but it's essentially you've got your hand kind of cocked like this, so fingertips cocked in towards the. You got it. I know. I like to think of like a little bird beak or something like that. It makes it can see me. And then you're essentially taking and putting it behind you like you're collecting a tip from behind, like someone's going, hey, I got money for you. You got it. And then bringing it back.
Do you open your hand for the tip?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Do you open the hand for the tip? I know you think you'd want to, like, give it room. So when I first started this, I was feeling it quite a lot, and now it's diminished. But I found that if I continue to rotate, so I don't just take my hand back, but I rotate my fingers out, then I get quite a stretch that comes up into here. And he said this morning that will help with the tennis elbow, golfer elbow type stuff. So I was like, oh, yay, love that. So I'm kind of adding that little twist. Let's do the other side and find out what's in there. You know, and again, I'm not assuming that everybody is going to get something out of each one of these, but if even one of these feels kind of useful, how cool to release that neural line. Because any kind of tension on the neural line can really show up in weird ways, and we can end up with all kinds of other effects in our muscle tissue and our brain and so on. Or just feeling too tight. You know, I've often said to you guys, I feel like I want to be in one of those cartoons where they can just run you over with a steamroller, you know? And I do feel like the neural stretching and flossing that he's been giving me has helped. So if this, again, if you want to make this more intense, the other add-on you can make is the head. So again, every time you take the head either towards or away, they offer you some potential for more nerve stretching and nerve flossing. Kind of fun. Thanks for playing that game with me. Hope that felt useful. So we're going to do a little warrior work, warrior play, I should say. And as we do, if you want to do any kind of flex, so standing warrior and pointing fingers down and up is going to give you some of that nerve flossing, right? All right, let's find our mountain stance, front of the mat. As you are ready, feeling that sense of real rooting into the earth, all four corners of the feet, and a lengthening through the crown of the head, but without tension or craning or striving through the neck. So keep real loose there. Nice soft mouth, ujjayi, soft gaze, and as you're ready, inhale, sweeping slowly out and up. Exhale, prayer hands, standing crane will lift that left knee. This long inhale. Exhale, step to your lunge. Perhaps doing if you enjoy that. And perhaps your arms are up, or maybe they're out and you're playing with some fun little bird beaks, as I think of them. Long inhale, you might deliver the arms up again and reach through the heart and getting that last front body stretch. And then opening to our warrior two, balancing pose. Power from that back leg, send those hips forward, explore what is your range of motion today, and what does it take to get that knee to track with your foot, and then arms reaching out from the heart. So one thing I play with in warrior two a lot is clatter hands. I know you guys too. But then sometimes I'll keep rotating. So I'll keep rotating the pinky in the direction I was, and I can often experience a little bit of nerve stretch there. Yes, just a little bit, just a little bit. What does it feel like to rotate the head here? Looking forward. Yeah. And you might relax it before reaching up, exalted warrior. A little behind and picking some right fruit, and then forward, elbow to thigh, shoulders stacked, and then reaching arm up beyond the head. And sometimes I like to kind of bend and reach again. I feel like I can get to kind of different places in that whole line from the foot to the pinky finger. You know, it was fun talking with the physical therapist again. Something that we've talked about is that continuation of the fascia, that it's contiguous, right? So we have that fabric that connects our whole body. Where would you like to go from here? I'm gonna invite us in a rotation or a twist. So if you wanna grab a block or something to put your hand on, planting that left hand, just give yourself a little more room right between the feet. And then opening up through that right arm. It can even feel fun to play with the angle of that right arm. You could bring it out, reaching beyond your head. And then as you're ready, release downward facing dog, perhaps dog series. If you're like, oh man, I am ready for some flow. Maybe a little cow cat, maybe resting. Maybe you're just loving this pose right here. Inhaling your plank, knees or feet. Exhale, chaturanga, nice slow, low push-up. Inhaling cobra or upward facing dog. Neck always easy. And downward facing dog. And working heels towards the floor, maybe sighing breath. What do you need? Then we're going to find our flow from the front again. Maybe you walk the feet forward, lunge, hop. Always breath, initiating motion. Always scanning the body for unnecessary tension between the face, neck, and shoulders. Yeah, that's a nice sighing breath happen. That was great. Let's find our ujjayi again, our own little internal music. Inhaling slowly out. Exhaling prayer hands, right knee lift, standing crane. A long inhalation before stepping back into our lunge, with or without your knee dip. And where would you like your arms to be? What positions do you want to play with? Sometimes we do yoga mudra here, it can feel really good. One more long inhale, reaching up, feeling that long line of stretch. Getting a little more neutral before you try to open up to your warrior two. Remember that you might often need to kind of lengthen your stance, scooch that front foot forward a little bit to get your best version of warrior two. And an opportunity to play with platter hands, rotating, doing a little beak flexing. On a long inhale, exalted warrior. And slowly towards your lateral stretch. Shoulders drawing back. Extending that right arm, or perhaps you're kind of pulsing it in some way. Is the side different? And then where do you want to go from here? Sometimes people want to go out to strata, for example. And if you're ready, you're going to just rotate that right hand down to the floor. Give yourself a little more space and then move left foot to the outside. And then opening. So you're on the ball of the back foot. Don't attempt to keep your foot flat here or it creates some real torque in the body. Nice. Ready, release. It's not always easy from this position. Maybe take a big inhale, exhale, use the core. Fantastic. This is the last opportunity for dog series. You might also just be doing portions of dog series. Maybe it's just a little up dog, down dog. And maybe you're like, oh, I just love plank. And hey, I'm sick of being on my wrist, so I'm just going to do some forearm plank, right? All these things are possible. To a quadricep stretch. And so your main decision is whether or not you are going to be on your belly or if you're going to be standing to do this stretch. Your secondary choice will be, do I need to, would I benefit from a strap? And I want to highlight the importance of that question today. I think there are plenty of people who can grab a hold of their ankle without the strap. but who would get a much better stretch for the body with the strap, and I'm gonna explain why. So if I, for example, when I go to grab for my ankle, I have to bring my knee out to the side, most of us do. There's also a tendency to arch the lower back. I am able to bring my knee back in and tuck my tailbone. And I don't know how much you can see that on camera with me being in black pants, but, or if you guys can even see it here, but I can get my tailbone tucked back versus being like this. If you cannot do that, that is where having just even a little bit of a strap, distance difference of where you can bring that knee in and tuck the tailbone, because otherwise there's pressure to the low back and you won't be getting the quad stretch. Some of you are the opposite. You know, you're like, it's really hard for me to even get a quadricep stretch here, even with my pelvic bone tucked. And if that's the case, hold, breathe, and think about kind of raising your knee a little off the floor, like you're trying to point at the wall behind. Those of you who are standing, it's a little easier because there's room behind you to just kind of let the knee keep moving back as you raise your heart. And actually, floor folks, you could also lift your head and chest a little bit if it doesn't create pressure in the low back. And keep the tailbone tucked. Breathing, noticing. Is there anybody who's not getting a good stretch? Pain with it or pressure? I don't want low back pressure. Good, I'll find something good. Excellent. And as you're ready to release, give yourself any little kind of counter movements and so on before moving to the next round, next side. Is this side different? And checking for unnecessary tension. My favorite recovery pose is child's pose, but if I'm standing, then it's ragdoll. It's great. I'm hearing some nice, just natural sighs from folks. Beautiful. So speaking of natural, the most natural thing we do is breathe, right? So we're going to intentionally mess with our natural breath cycle and breath walks. You're welcome to be in any shape that you'd like to do that. We didn't do it at the beginning class like I planned. That's right, we're gonna do it at the end. We will be doing the sacral triangle thing after this, so have it handy. This is also a great time if you want to add layers. You know, if you want some space for under your head or your knees, but you want to hold beautiful leaning on. We're going to tune in with our breath. I think, again, this really deep core part of who we are. Part of us. That when we stop breathing, we know very quickly we die, right? What breath locks to me is that we consciously know you can breathe whenever you want, right? I'm not. And yet, even with that, a lot of people experience some stress or discomfort around holding the breath out or in. And for some people, it's one but not the other. So I'm going to ask you to be here. And anytime you come up against, oh my gosh, it's a lot. Remember, you can breathe if you want to, and just simply ask, can I melt around this? And finally, when you cannot, you'll breathe. So as you are ready, find a comfortable position. And then exhale and hold out. This is just a regular exhale, not compression. As you're holding out, try to create spaciousness. So the tongue is relaxed, maybe just the tip of the roof of the mouth. Notice the parts of you that might be tightening and ask and soften around this. You do need to breathe, allow that breath wave to rise your spine, to fill you, holding internal breath. You might be able to hear your heartbeat, sense your blood pulsing. Another couple of rounds of breath locks. If you'd like, you could even continue the breath lock practice while taking the block rapid to support under the sacral area. If you're wanting to add that, some of you have created a very comfortable Shavasana position and you do not need to exit. You know this tool and you can return to it anytime that you want to later in the day. For those of you adding the block under the sacral area and continuing breath block, it might be interesting to notice how the body position changes your breath block experience. When you're ready to come off the object of support, settling into your final resting shape. These next minutes, tuning in to this beautiful vessel, this spirit that's inside, inviting a deep sense of softening, melting, and heavy gravity. breath to gently expand. Awareness to gently rise. Beautiful for an affirmation or mantra that can carry you throughout the day. I've often heard my very boldness and goodness and peace. So I shared the one that my mom gave us many years ago. Plenty of time, plenty of health, plenty of money. There are some wonderful Zen Buddhist sayings that might support you in peace and the present momentness. There are things like just be in each step, or when you eat, just eat, when you listen, just listen. Regardless, I do hope that you'll find a way to have breath be a greater part of the movement and also your beingness. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Namaste. All the time, your system desires to make its journey towards the river of life out there. Maybe there's some additional stretches that we didn't do or that we did want to do again. Thank you so much for you folks joining me on Zoom. Really glad you did. See you soon.
Oh, so good.